What is up, everybody, and welcome to another Monday live stream. So I'm going to be setting up these live streams a little bit better with a little bit more structure. So today we're going to be talking about our training for the week. We're going to be talking about our average savage of the week. So we're going to go into history and take motivation from average savages throughout history. I'm going to be talking about what they did and the motivation that I think it can actually bring us, because there are some freaking savages in history. So I like to read about these crazy people and draw motivation from them. So I've had a lot of fun doing a little bit of research on this. So hopefully we can go through a couple of their stories and take out some little nuggets from how they lived their lives and the things that they did. And then at the end, what we're gonna go through is just a couple memes, just some memes with some stories talking about how we're running on trails for 100 miles, 50 miles. We're running for a really freaking long time, and it is, kind of a funny sport. So drawing some humor out of ultra marathon, drawing some humor out of the crazy shit that we do out on the trails every day. So let's get right into it. We're gonna get right into our training for the week. So this week we are actually starting our training for the Mid-State Massive 100, and once again that's in October. So we have about 2 months left of training, and we're really starting to ramp up. Typically we've been going, I think I peaked at like 70 miles going towards that 24-hour Mount Sparta race. So we're starting to ramp up the miles once again. My legs are feeling nice and healthy. So the recovery has been going well. Legs have been nice and healthy. I feel like I'm pretty much fully recovered, so we're starting to put a lot more mileage onto my training schedule and adding back in the hill work and the intervals. So starting off on Monday, we did 6.5 miles. I mean, took it really slow. There's a really cool trail up here in New Hampshire that's pretty flat. It was only 234 feet of elevation gain through the whole thing. So took it nice and slow and just kind of relaxed and ramped back up for the weekend, or for the week. Actually, this run, as I'm remembering, this run was actually on the treadmill, and I was doing one of the live streams on the treadmill. I ended up talking a little bit too much just because a buddy popped in, and I started talking way too much and got way too into the conversation. So ended up running about 6.5 miles. On the treadmill, this pace is pretty easy just because it's a treadmill. It's something that I don't really like to do that much. I don't really like to run on the treadmill all too much. It usually ends up hurting my knees. And actually after that run, I started getting a little bit of knee pain, so I took a little bit more time on recovery, really hit up the roller and took a little bit more CBD oil than I usually do, just because my knees were a little bit trashed sitting on that treadmill for about an hour or an hour and 15 minutes. So just kind of spent a little bit more time recovering on that. And then the next day we had a 9-mile run. I ran a little bit further and we hit up some hill repeats. So right around, I'm pretty sure it was right around the 6-mile mark, we started hitting up those hill repeats. I went into this one area that is always hit or miss. It matters what trail you're going on. It's one of those trail systems that is privately maintained. So it's really hit or miss. I mean, some of the trails in that area are really nice, and other trails it just seems like you're lost in the woods, and that's kind of how this was. I had to find a nice hill, a nice half-mile hill to try to get some hill repeats on. And the problem with doing that's not on a road, it's the ones on the trails are always going up and down. So it is kind of annoying trying to find a nice good hill to do your hill repeats on when you're using a trail system. That's typically why I do it on the road, just because it's a lot easier to find a hill that's like half mile long to do your hill repeats on without having to go up and down, up and down. One thing with bigger mountains, they do those switchbacks and the zigzags up the mountains. So a lot of people, I know a lot of trails when I was living in Montana. When I was living in Montana, I could easily find a trail that I could do that work on. I mean, basically those mountains and those trails are all going up really fast and really not really fast, but really long. So when I was going to college, there's the M Trail, and it's in Missoula, Montana, and it's basically a zigzag trail all the way up to the city's Big M. I don't know. I don't know if that's like a thing only in the north. I don't really see it too much anywhere else in the country, but in Montana, when you have a city, they always put the letter of the city on the mountain that the city is by, if that makes sense. So you have your city, and then on the mountain that's like overshadowing the city, they put in rocks the letter. So it's like an M. In Great Falls, it was a GF. You know, in Helena, it's an H. So there's always that big letter in cities in Montana. And the one in Missoula had a really cool, really well-maintained trail that zigzagged all the way up it. And I'm pretty sure it was like either half mile or a mile. But that was a hell of a hike. And whenever I go there, I always try to do that trail a couple times, just because it's such a steep, good incline and good work for your legs. I always try to get on that trail, and it's always a really pretty hike. And then when I was actually going to school there, I would always hike up that mountain, and then it leads to a mountain range, and I would get lost in the mountains. There's many times I would return to my dorm room or my apartment just completely dehydrated, and because I would get lost on that trail, not bring water because I'm an idiot, and just be completely dehydrated, hungry. And I'm pretty sure that's where I started really loving ultra running and hiking and nature, is just getting lost in the mountains in Montana. So going back to the training, I finally found a hill around here. It was about 0.4, 0.5. Had to put in a little bit more work just to get the half mile. Ended up doing four to five iterations of those hill repeats, about half mile each. Ended up being 9.5 miles. That's really when the week's heat started, so it was pretty freaking hot. I was trying to bring a little bit less fuel and everything, just because I think I've been taking a little bit too much fuel on my training runs. I mean, you don't need to be doing your fueling plan every single run you do, just because that's kind of some unnecessary calories, but I'm trying to not take as much fuel just in my training runs, only for my long runs, and then when I'm starting to get ready for the actual races. So I wish I would have brought a little bit more fuel for this one, just because I was working pretty hard on those intervals, and it was pretty freaking hot out, and I felt it in, mile 6, mile 7. I was really starting to suck, and wish I had a little bit more calories than I actually brought with me, especially a little bit more water. I only had 2 bottles of water with me, about 30 ounces. I wish I had an additional bottle, just because I was sweating my ass off so freaking much. On Wednesday, it was another easy day, just recovering from that hill repeat. We went and got some dinner. Our family came in for the week and had some dinner, had a beer, and I kind of forgot that I had to run that day. I mean, I'm not super disciplined. I'm not, David Goggins or all these crazy people, just like one goal, one set thing. I totally forgot that I had to run, but I made sure that I went out and got after it. did my run, you know, just around my community, just running around in a circle over and over again. And I felt that beer just bouncing around in my stomach, but got it done, got the work done. And, you know, there's no problem. Sometimes you have to suffer through some runs, and you have to not really sacrifice, but you have to pay for the decisions that you make if you decide to drink a beer after, you know, after dinner and you haven't ran yet. You're gonna have to suffer with that beer in your stomach. That was a pretty good run. Kept it nice and easy. I've been keeping my runs pretty much in zone 1, zone 2, just because I'm trying to control my heart rate a little bit better. So, moving on to Thursday, we hit another interval run. So, we're kind of setting up the same. I had to work pretty late that day on Thursday. So once again, it was a late night, circle, 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 circle in my little community, and just had to do that for 9 miles. My community's a quarter mile, so it's pretty much just like running around a regular high school track over and over again, which can get a little bit tiresome, but it's much, much, much better than running on the freaking treadmill. My knees do get a little bit beat up just running on pavement all the time, but it's much better than running on the treadmill. For some reason, the treadmill just absolutely destroys my knees. If I have to run on the treadmill, I will, but if I don't, I'd rather run around in a circle in my community than sit on that treadmill. So, kept the pace nice and easy, tried to keep my heart rate under that 150 again. It was rising a little bit in this area. That's when I started doing my intervals. So I was doing a fartlek workout where you do 1 minute on, 1 minute off, 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off, 3 minutes on, 3 minutes off, with increasing pace on each iteration. And then I did 2 sets of that. So it's kind of just training your body to progressively get faster and faster, and then also being able to recover as you get done with your actual intervals. So to put in some pretty good work. That last set I was really, really pushing it, so got some good work in, got that good foot, what is it called? I can't even remember. I can't remember what it's called, but got some good work in, got some good foot movement in that actual run. Took a rest day on Friday, just getting ready for the weekend long run. And this oh my god. So this freaking long run was an absolute smoke fest. It was, I don't know if I'm just a sucker for punishment, but I decided to do this long run when it was the hottest freaking point of the day. And the hottest freaking point of the day, when there was no shade, on a trail with no shade, and I absolutely paid for it. It was more of a test of perseverance than anything. I mean, if you can see, this temperature is a little bit wrong. I mean, it said it feels like 95, but the actual temperature was around 95 to 90. That was when we were getting that really bad heat wave in the Northeast on this weekend, and I was absolutely freaking. I was absolutely smoked. I was melting. I didn't take enough water because I'm an idiot once again. And in probably when I was like around 3, when I was around like 3 miles to 4 miles in, my heart rate freaking shot up to around 223, like crazy high, and I could feel it beating out of my heart. Sometimes this does happen to me for some reason. I think it's because I had a heat stroke. I think it's because I had a heat stroke in Ranger School or in RASP. One time when I was in selection, I just got really dizzy, and I may or may not have passed out, got all clammy, and ever since then I've had a really hard time regulating my body has had a really hard time regulating the temperature when it's super, super hot. When I was growing up, I never really sweated all too much, and now whenever it gets really hot, I just pour out all my freaking sweat, and I have an insanely high sweat rate. So at 3 to 5 miles, 3 or 4 miles, uh, I sweated out pretty much all the water I had in my body, and my heart rate shot up. What I normally do is just like sit around or walk for about 2 to 3 minutes, and it's pretty quick to actually go down. So rested for a couple minutes, heart rate went back down to normal, and kept going. I mean, it's just something that I have to deal with. That's where that spike was. See, so this freaking heart rate spike was right here, where it went up to that 221. You can see right there. And it was only for a couple minutes, and then it goes back down to normal. So took it a little bit easier for the rest of that run. This is one of those things that I always talk about, is kind of tactically planning out your long runs, especially if you're not taking a lot of water. So I made sure that I stayed around my house, and I knew I was absolutely struggling, so I went back into my community where I could actually get ice water and refuel and everything like that once I knew how freaking hot it was out. I got back to my house, got a bunch of ice water, dumped it over my head, cooled down my core temperature, and made sure that I had a lot more nutrition that I was actually carrying with me. So definitely, if it is a heat wave out there and it is burning your freaking feet off and your head off and your core off, make sure that you have your car near you, or you're by your house, so then you can make sure that you can actually get the water that you need and the nutrition that you need, because it is a lifesaver. Instead of having to pull out of a run and you don't get that training effect for your long run, you might just have to like slow down a little bit, get some good nutrition in you. This freaking run was a 11 to 24 pace with only 1,000 feet of elevation gain throughout the whole thing. So it was a super long run, but got the work in and got the long run done, and got to reiterate how important hydration is, how important nutrition is, and how important cooling yourself down is on really hot days. So it was totally worth it. I wasn't too beat up, just because I made sure that I did cool myself off and walked when I needed to walk, and slowed down my pace when I needed to slow down. So being very tactical, making these tactical decisions in your training runs. And this is different. Some people might say it's kind of like being a bitch, or pussing out a workout, but as long as you're doing it, it's better than not. So making these tactical good decisions in your training, it's going to lead to making tactical good decisions in your races. So if you're overheating in your race, if you're not eating enough, then you can make those tactical decisions in your race because you've done it in your training runs. Everything kind of accumulates into your big race. So try to make as tactical decisions and think tactically as you're actually training up for your races, because it's all gonna lead to your long run. Not your long run, your race. But going back into training, that I took a lot of time to recover after that, just because I was so dehydrated. Not really dehydrated, just like so hot. Took a nice cold shower, did a lot of rolling out, and made sure that I got some good protein, some good carbs to recover that glycogen from my body, because I sweated everything out. This is also the week, or this is also once again when we are starting to do and get ready for back-to-back long runs. So on Sunday, yesterday, what we did was threw in a 10-mile afternoon run. So after that 20 miles, hit up a 10-mile run and kept that one nice and easy. So just kind of working the body back, or working the body and getting it ready for back-to-back long runs. So last week I was supposed to do 5, I did 8, just because I felt a little bit better, and then this week I did 10. So we're ramping that up. I'm pretty sure this week we're going to be doing 12. So it's just slowly building up that those distances for the back-to-back long runs. Always on that second long run, it's always going to be a little bit easier just because your legs are your legs are a little bit tighter. So kept it easier. Had to run on the road again just because I did stay at home to take care of the babies and relax for the day. So ran 10 miles. We set up a bouncy house with some water and chilled in the bouncy house. Ate some McDonald's just because you're an ultra runner or just because you're doing some things doesn't mean that you can't have a cheat meal. Had some McDonald's. It was absolutely delicious. Probably not the best thing to recover with, but it was awesome. And ended the day with, drinking a lot of water, protein, recovering to get ready for today's workout. I actually haven't done today's workout yet. It's only a 5-mile run, so I'm going to take it nice and easy, just getting ready for the week. It's more of a recovery run, keeping it nice and slow in that zone 1, zone 2. So that's what we're going to be doing after this live stream. After this live stream, we'll just be doing an easy 5 miles. But that wraps up the week. Kind of the same format that we've always been doing, except for adding in that back-to-back long run. It goes from easy to hard, long run, and then we're adding in this secondary long run on Sunday, which will be increasing as we get closer and closer to the Mid-State Massive. Ended up getting 60 miles for the week, and I'm pretty sure we're going to be topping out around 80 to 90 miles a week before we hit up the Mid-State Massive 100. But that's it. That week was a good week of training. Haven't felt, didn't feel really overworked or anything like that. Haven't had any pains or issues with the legs. The quad is a little tight, but I've been just taking a little bit more extra care of it, getting the crossballs and rolling it out, using the foam roller and rolling that out every day pretty much. And just kind of keeping an eye on it, making sure that I'm doing the preventative stuff now when there's just a little bit of tightness, so it doesn't grow into anything bigger. But that takes care of the first portion of the live stream, and we're going straight into our second portion, and that is the average savage of the week. All right, there's our sweet little intro that I made. So our average savage of the week is Roy Benavidez. He is an absolute freaking monster. He's the man that told a body bag to hold his freaking Medal of Honor, and he just kept on freaking living. This dude is an absolute beast. I've done quite a lot of research on this, but if you guys know any more stories or you have to correct me on some of these facts, just drop them in the comments. But pretty much all the stories about this guy is an absolute monster. Pretty much every single thing that this dude has done produces some sort of motivation. So let's go right into it. So this is just going to be a quick and dirty breakdown of Roy Benavidez. He was one of the first of 125,000 soldiers in Vietnam. He stepped on a freaking landmine and survived. It gave him severe memory loss and paralysis, and he demanded that the doctors didn't medically discharge him, and he made sure that he would walk again. And this is like a really, really simplified version, but basically he freaking wasn't able to walk, forced himself to walk. He pretty much crawled every single day, did his PT even more than he should have, and eventually forced himself to walk again. And not only did he walk again, but he joined special forces after he got blown off of his freaking foot and wasn't able to walk for, I think he wasn't able to walk for a couple months. after he stepped on that landmine. So that's just absolutely insane. There is a ranger was serving that was serving around my time, Kapjetski, and he lost his leg, and he rehabbed. He has like a metal leg, and rejoined the Ranger Regiment. This dude was an absolute beast, and all you would hear behind you is tap 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 tap, and that was his running leg, just like hitting the ground, and he would blow through you. I don't think I've ever beat that guy in a run because he was so freaking fast. He jumped. He was a platoon sergeant when I was there, and the dude is an absolute monster. He actually has a book out. So if you ever want to get some extra motivation, check out Sergeant Kapczewski's book. But back to Benavidez. Once again, this dude got blown up, and he joined this special forces. Let's see, where was his next slide? Yeah, right here. Nope, 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 nope. There you go. So, so once again, Benavidez regained his jump status, and he went on to earn his long tab, joined the Special Forces, and he was in the 5th Special Forces Group in Vietnam. There's so many stories. There's so many freaking stories of this guy when he was in Vietnam. You definitely have to look up all of his work. What he's most famous for, or what people have a lot of knowledge about, is he like they were doing a freaking rescue mission, and he freaking had a knife, and he jumped out of the helicopter to help retrieve a pinned down group of SF guys and the North Vietnam counterparts that they were actually working out. So he jumps out of this freaking helicopter, rips a bunch of people out and directs a bunch of people to the helicopter. And and then he gets freaking shot at. He gets shot like 37 times, or that's what they say, 37 times, or like grazed and shot and whatever, stabbed with a baton. They get stuck in a firefight for 6 freaking hours. They pronounce him freaking dead, and they put him in a body bag. I don't know how true this is. I mean, it seems like it's pretty freaking true because there's so many accounts of this, and then he was actually alive. So I don't know what the hell happened, but this dude just like survived this huge firefight. He is pronounced dead, and pretty much just says, fuck it, I'm still alive. There is a book, and there's a lot of accounts called The 6 Hours in Hell. And if you want to read that whole story, it is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I can't even do this justice. Like rereading these little slides that I made, it just kind of makes me not even want to talk about it, just because I know there's so many people that know his story so much better than me. But definitely 100% look up Roy Benavidez, look up The 6 Hours in Hell, because his whole story is absolutely insane. They actually made a real life G.I. Joe of this dude, so I'm pretty sure you can go out and get an actual G.I. Joe of Roy Benavidez. He's got a bunch of books. Pretty much, I don't know. I don't even know what to say about this guy. He's absolutely insane. Basically, if you want to get motivated, if you want to go run up a mountain, kick down doors, if you're in the military or a veteran, definitely look up the name Roy Benavidez, because you will be surely and 100% motivated by this dude. It actually makes me feel bad. It actually makes me feel bad about my service in the military, because, and I know you're not supposed to, like, I know you're not supposed to compare yourself to other people, but it's freaking hard, man. Like, when you look at dudes like this and the accomplishments that they've done in their military career, and you look back at yours, you're like, oh shit, I didn't do shit. I was just in the Ranger Regiment for a little bit, and this guy was jumping out of helicopters with a knife and shit. And he ended up getting the Medal of Honor and a bunch of other medals. But man, I don't know. I don't even know what to say. I think we're gonna have to move on because just thinking about all of his accomplishments, all the stories that are rambling around in my head, I think we're gonna have to move on because I'm just kind of getting a little kerfuffled with different stories about Roy Benavidez. But once again, check out his book. Check out the 6 Hours in Hell. Check out Roy Benavidez if you want some great inspiration. And he came up from humble beginnings. He wasn't a crazy athlete. He wasn't a monster like war fighter. He wasn't anything. He was just brave, and he was just a fucking savage. He didn't really care about the status quo. He didn't care about what people thought or what people were doing. He did things his way, and he made sure that the only thing that he cared about were the people that he was serving with. And I mean, that might not be his words, or it might be his words, but just based on his actions, jumping out of a helicopter to go save a bunch of people that may or may not be on your team, I mean, that's fucking insane. And that's what you want from people. Man. So, yeah, that's the average savage of the week, Roy Benavidez. I will try to get my thoughts a little bit better situated on next week's. It's just, this guy always gets me so ramped up. I barely even know what to say. So moving on, moving on to the next one. We're going into memes. I'm way too freaking motivated, way too amped up just thinking about Roy Benavidez. So we're gonna have to move on to our meme section of the show. Oh. Well, I guess my my little video doesn't work, so I guess we will see. Hold on. Let me see if I can get this pulled up. Hold up. So I'm just trying to pull up another little cutscene that I made. Hold on. Sorry about this. Just trying to get everything situated. Here you go. There it is. That's what that whole little section was about. So, going into memes, I mean, we just have a couple memes that we're going to be talking about. I want to show you guys. I don't know why, but it just seems that like there's not many ultra marathon memes or running memes out there. I've been trying to find a little bit, but the running community is such a funny community, and I wish there was a little bit more humor on the internet. It's mostly about tips and like gear reviews and everything like that. But every single time I'm at a race, or every single time I'm talking to people that are runners, they're some of the funniest people and some of the strongest communities. So I hope I can bring some of the humor in some of the humor in ultra running and the running community to my channel. This is one that I made during my recovery week. Just because this seems to be a little trap that I always fall into while I'm recovering from a race, especially after a race. For some reason, I feel like I deserve the world, or I deserve whatever the fuck I want to eat, and it always ends up to be a detriment. My wife actually is the one that usually calls me out on this. Basically, I get done with a race and it's Chinese food, ice cream, beer, and I pretty much just eat every single thing that I don't, or that I tried to resist. during the lead up from the race, and after I just, absolutely crushed as much food and as shitty food as possible. Uh, so if you guys ever watched Dodgeball, at the end scenes, that's Ben Stiller. He's a big man. So yeah, it's a recovery week. You can get away with it for a couple days, but your body needs some proper nutrition to actually fully recover from the trauma that you put on it during these races. So I try to eat healthy after the races, but it always ends up just being a freaking McDonald's ice cream uh, eating fest. This is uh this is one that I found on Reddit, and this is kind of goes towards what I actually order, what I actually order from McDonald's. I want to know what you guys or what your actual McDonald's order is. If you guys do like to partake in some fast food, typically what I will get is a double quarter pounder with cheese, with a side of Big Mac sauce, and then a 10-piece chicken nugget, a large fry, and a Coke or a slushy. Usually a slushy if they actually have them. So that's probably around like 2,000 calories, and I just stuff my face. It's probably like 3,000 to 4,000 milligrams of salt, and I always just feel like complete ass. But god damn it, McDonald's is fucking delicious. And if you say anything else, then I don't want to be your friend, because McDonald's is delicious, Red Bulls is delicious, all this nasty food or bad food is so delicious, and every once in a while you can have a little treat day. So those are the memes of the day. All about eating like shit, all about giving in to that dark side and the darkness of food. So once again, just to wrap up, McDonald's is delicious, Sammy. How dare you? So just to wrap up the stream, we ended up running 60 miles this week. Got in a lot of good work, ramping back up and getting ready to hit some long back-to-back long runs. Average savage of the week is Roy Benavidez. Definitely look him up because he is an absolute monster, and McDonald's is absolutely delicious. Bringing some freaking good stuff to some good humor online to the running community. Mickey D's is delicious once you eat MREs for 2 full weeks. No, that's absolutely true. I mean, one thing about eating MREs for 2 weeks is it blocks you up like a motherfucker. I mean, I'm pretty sure they make them so you have enough sodium, you have enough calories, and then you don't poop a lot, because they don't want you to poop a lot out in the field. So they block you up quite a bit. I know the one MRE that actually makes you go is that cheese omelet. I mean, that thing was pretty much instant diarrhea. So, whew, man, that just gave me some flashbacks. Real quick question before we sign off, or real quick story before we sign off. When I was in RASP, there's a portion when you go into Coal Range, and you ruck march all the way to Coal Range. It's about, I think it was only like 10 to 12 miles ruck march with a pretty heavy rucksack, but they absolutely smoke you through the whole thing. We got absolutely destroyed for that whole ruck march. They kept stopping and kicking our ass and making us do push-ups and all this shit. So everybody was absolutely smoked. It was super hot. A couple guys fell out and they were heat cats. We were all sitting on our rucksacks getting our feet checked when we finally got to Coal Range, and they started passing out food. And we were all sitting in a line on our rucks, and they were passing out the MREs, and we're like, oh shit, omelet, gross. Oh shit, omelet, gross. Oh shit, omelet, gross. And what the Rats cadre did was they saved up from the past three RASP classes all the omelet MREs, and they had about 50 freaking MREs, omelet MREs. So every single person got an omelet MRE after that destructive freaking ruck march. It was in retrospect, it was pretty fucking hilarious. Actually, even at the moment, it was pretty freaking hilarious just because they took the time to collect and save all those omelet MREs just to fuck with us. So with that story, thanks once again. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Follow along with the channel. We got the Mid-State Massive coming up in October. Probably got a couple winter ultra marathons. I got my eye on a couple 100-milers after I go to the, get a checkup and make sure I am physically okay. But have to make sure, what is the most common reason for RFS in Regimen? The most common reason for RFS in the Regimen is just not meeting the standards. So there's a few standards that you have to actually meet, and that's physical standards and just regular like clothing standards and shit, like hair standards. So a lot of people actually get kicked out of Regimen when they've been there for too long. They want them there as a leader, like as an E5, but to be a leader, or at least when I was there, it might have changed. It's been like 7 years since I've been there. If you want to be a leader, you have to go to Ranger School. So Ranger School is the leadership school, once again, where you get your Ranger tab. But when you're in Ranger Regiment, you have a Ranger Scroll. And you go to RASP to get your Ranger Scroll. That's the people that are actually doing the Ranger missions. So you could be in Ranger Regiment without a Ranger tab. But if you want to be a leader, especially on the line, you have to have a Ranger tab and go to Ranger School and pass Ranger School. So if you don't pass Ranger School, you have maybe another shot, or if they really like you, they'll give you 3 shots. But if you can't make it past Ranger School and become a leader and continuing to advance in Ranger Regiment, then that's one way that they'll kick you out, just because you can't really advance without that Ranger tab in the NCO ranks. So that's probably the most common reason why people actually get RFS from Ranger Regiment, because they can't pass Ranger School. And I mean, RASP is like a sprint. I mean, it's 2 months still. RASP is kind of a sprint. It's a really big smoke fest, but it ebbs and flows on the needs of Ranger Regiment. So they can pass quite a few people if they don't really need it. I mean, if they really need the bodies in Ranger Regiment, because they can send those guys to, like, S shops or wherever they need them that aren't on the line. It's just, you need to have your Ranger tab to be an NCO, and if you're not able to fulfill that role, then they'll get rid of you. I'm pretty sure that's probably the biggest reason why people actually get RFS'd out of Ranger Regiment. And then there's always the people that get into Ranger Regiment and they think they made it. But that's probably the hardest part about being in Ranger Regiment, is staying in Ranger Regiment. So even though you actually, made it, and you have your scroll, you're on the line, you're doing all this shit that Rangers do, you still have to keep up with your physical fitness. You still have to meet the standards of learning a new weapon platform. You might get, I got sent to AT for my first 2 deployments. So I had to learn about the stupid Gustav. It's a huge 84mm recoilless rifle that shoots freaking rockets. And you have to learn about that, and if you're not able to do your job, you get kicked the fuck out. So it's basically like, that's where your real military career and real selection actually starts, is when you're actually in Ranger Regiment. So there's so many reasons why you can get kicked out of Ranger Regiment. They say that the hardest part about Ranger Regiment is staying in Ranger Regiment. So get your tab, meet the standards, stay physically fit, and you'll be perfectly fine in Ranger Regiment. It seems like a lot, but you're just always in that like 5th gear, just going, and sometimes people get burnt out. But once again, you guys trapped me with a couple questions right at the end. Gotta get in my 5 miles for the day. But once again, thank you so much for popping in. dropping some comments in, like, subscribe. I'll get better at, you know, making this live stream a little bit tighter. But thanks once again, and see you on the next one.